All right, good morning, everybody. I am so happy, I am so grateful to have you here. My name is Star Dargan, for those of you who don't know me, and I call myself a gratitude junkie. I've been living and breathing it for the past 15 years. You hear the words woo-woo, touchy-feely, yes, associates with gratitude, and that's what people think. So I'm here to convince you and tell you that gratitude belongs in business. Soft skills, it's what I've been teaching for the past 15 years, soft skills. Gratitude is a soft skill, and there's a real business ROI. There's real value to it for businesses. You are all grateful. I know all of you actually, and I know that you are grateful people and come from gratitude. The challenge is, how do we bring that into business in an authentic and true way and get real ROI on gratitude? So welcome to Leading with Gratitude in the book 2017. So the agenda for today, it's going to be about 30-40 minutes. I would love interaction from you, your feedback as we go along. And at the end there'll be a time for questions and some toys and some giveaways too. Okay? So what we're going to cover is, what does grateful mean? I've been interviewing people about this. They all have a different thought of it. Terry, we had a great conversation last week about it. Why is it important in business? What does it matter? And more importantly, what's the value? How do you use that in business? How do you make that happen? How do you create, what is your practice, and how do you make it, if you're already this grateful, how do you become this grateful? And how do you make it work for you in business? Okay? The bursting heart. So I want to start with, do you know someone, or have you ever felt that gratitude, that you can't take it anymore? You are so happy. You cannot believe the good fortune, your life, the people in it. You're just going to explode. Have you felt that? Anyone? Yes. Okay. How often do you feel that? How often? I'm not sure I ever felt that till my first son was born, honestly. And then when I felt that, I was hooked. And then now probably once or twice a week I have that intensity of gratitude because I've been practicing gratitude for 15 years. It is a practice, it's a skill. So gratitude is the feeling of appreciation. It's the giving of being seen and being acknowledged with nothing expected in return. That's gratitude. Okay? So that's the definition. So I argue that there are three types of thank you. Three types of thank you I'm going to talk about. Not all thank you is gratitude. Gratitude is not the cultural thank you. This is the thank you for opening the door. Thank you for that really ugly sweater, Grandma. Have you ever said thank you and not mean it? But you just do it because you have to. It's expected in our culture. And it is a US culture thing, which I thought was really interesting. I have a German friend, and the hardest challenge she had was, you Americans say thank you too much. In Germany, we do not say thank you for things that you're expected to do and give, and that's your responsibility. Okay, so thank you number one, it's cultural. If you don't say thank you for Grandma giving you that sweater, what's Grandma going to think, right? Even if you don't like it. Thank you number two is reciprocity. Reciprocity is what cultures and businesses run on. It is the lubricant to make them work. It's not a bad thing. It's just that you give something and get something back. You give someone a salary, they give you their time. You give someone free address labels, and you get more donations. You give someone a feeling of feeling really good. You know those ads? They make you feel good. The Super Bowl ads, why do they spend millions of dollars for 30 seconds? They make you feel good. So you will go out and buy. Reciprocity is the key to influencing without authority. Lots of studies on it. That's not gratitude, though. Gratitude is, I'm going to repeat, it's the appreciation, the acknowledgement, the being seen, the giving without expecting something back. Pure joy, feeling happiness. And it's cousins. There's gratitude. The cousins of thank you, the cousins of gratitude is mindfulness. So we have Terry, our mindful coach. Happiness and optimism. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Gratitude or mindfulness? The conversation Terry and I had is, if you're mindful, how can you not be gratitude? If you're in gratitude, it's easy to be very mindful. Gratitude is thinking about the future rather than the past, thinking what can be. It gets you out of the negativity of the past, and it thinks you in the future, in the now, in the moment. Okay, so that feeling brings you right back there. And what I also want to say about these thank yous, this is why it belongs in business. It's action-oriented. I don't know about you, but how many people have tried meditating? Almost everybody. Okay, me too. I'm not really good at it. After 10 minutes, I've sat down for 2 hours in a retreat and meditated. So I can do it, but in business, you can't sit and close your office door for 2 hours and meditate. Okay, so yeah, you learn little techniques. How do I deep breathe? How do I get to that state? Gratitude is action-oriented. It's all about action. Meditation is stillness, which is great and wonderful. So they're cousins. They're related. Okay. So I want to talk about some research. There is research on gratitude, on happiness, on mindfulness, all this stuff. This is specifically research. I studied over 100 papers and websites and links, and I do have access to research logs on gratitude. And I just put some highlights here. First of all, we know from all of our wonderful brain, brilliant people here, there's two sides of the brain, right? The right and the left. Here's the really key thing is that when you are in this negative side of I can't do it, things aren't going well, survival, flight or fright, you can't be grateful, you can't be mindful. There's physically a divide there. They're two separate parts. When people are in the state of gratitude, here are some of the results. And these are really conservative. The numbers are really higher if you look at the studies. 5 minutes of journaling on gratitude will give you a 10% overall improvement in the day. That comes from Stanford, who has a master's class in gratitude. That blew me away. It can reduce depression by 35%. I'm not just making this up. This is repeatable, and this is the low number too. 16% fewer symptoms and increased life expectancy. Does anyone remember the study about the nuns? 700 nuns were studied. They looked at there were 700 nuns. They looked at their one-page entrance exam when they were 21 years old. This was over in Europe, a European study. And what they did is they marked the words for positivity and gratitude, and then they followed them throughout their whole life. Guess how many years longer the positive, optimist, gratitude nuns lived? Guess how many? Any guesses?
50.
50?
No, 15. One time.
Oh, 15. No, 7. 7. On average, 7. So gratitude, positivity, 7 years longer life. 700 people, and it's been repeated over and over and too. But that was sort of a key study that's like, wow, there are real benefits here. That's personal benefits. So let's talk about business. Business, challenges in business. There's a Gallup study. It's been going on since the year 2000, so it's about 16. There's been 16 of these they've done. They have over 100,000 applicants that they interview. There's 30 million responses in their database over these 16 years. 72% of US workers are not engaged. What does that mean? You've heard these figures before? And it doesn't really change a whole lot over the years. They're not engaged. And what that means, there's 12 criteria that they measure engagement. Here's a couple of them. Of the top quarter of the engaged workers, they have 70% less safety issues, 40% less quality issues, 41% lower absenteeism, higher sales, higher productivity. And what's even more astounding, the top 1 to 3% of engaged workers, it's something like 7 times. It's a dramatic difference in profitability and productivity. It's incredible. It's like, how can you not bring engagement in? 75% leave a company because of a bad manager or a negative, hostile environment, stress, overwhelm. Here's what's really interesting. 30% never thank a coworker, or they're only 30%, I take that back. Only 30% weekly appreciate. They say, I appreciate you, a coworker. And it's only 10% to their bosses. I interviewed Sonia, so we know Sonia is one of the most grateful people. She deals in reality, she gets stuff done, but she also approaches business from a point of gratitude. So Sonia kind of proved out this number here. I said to Sonia, and I want to get this quote exactly right because this is Sonia. She says, people are amazed that I throw gratitude out there. She said, I always say thank you. Sonia will always say thank you, do a letter, do a follow-up, to the point that her coworkers are embarrassed for her because she says thank you so many times. And I said, well, where does this come from? What is this about? And she says, it's just naturally who she is. Right? She has no fear of bringing a personal relationship. She'll say, oh, I thank you, I love that jacket, or I love this. She will cross the business line into personal. So I asked her, why do only you and 30% of the rest of the people do that? She says, I think some people are afraid to cross the line between business and personal. So while we all may be incredibly grateful people, very few of us bring it into business. So that's my goal. Bring it more into business, because when you bring it into business, you get incredible results. People want to be seen, they want to be acknowledged. They want to be appreciated. All right, so we have talked about the, we've talked about the why it's important. There's real research that shows it. We've talked about the definition of what gratitude is. So bottom line, it creates engaged. People become engaged when they're appreciated and seen. Productive, innovative. Oh, the other part about the brain, the positive, negative. When you are in that positive, grateful brain state, creativity and innovation occurs. You physically cannot be creative, open, and innovative when you're in the negative place. And there's all sorts of studies on that too. Gratitude produces and creates creativity, innovation, which leads to engagement and productivity. Okay? So here's the thing, it's easy to apply. It's one of the simplest things. You don't have to go to a course for a whole week about this. You can spend 5 minutes at the beginning or the end of the day. It costs very little, and there's no negative side effects. However, it is addictive and contagious. So addictive, yeah, you know what I mean by addictive is when you walk in and see Sonia, what do?
Smile.
Yeah, you smile back at her. Yeah, very addictive. If someone is incredibly negative, ranting and raving and arguing and yelling, and you can't say, hey, what are you grateful for? That doesn't work. But if you bring them down slowly, you can eventually shift them over to a place of gratitude where they can be creative and innovative to solve problems and become productive. So the challenge is to reduce that time of the negativity to get people to the positive in teams and groups. Let's see, do I have? Nope. So Dr. Mary, I have a quote from Dr. Mary too. She was another person I interviewed. Dr. Mary, if you know her, she's this amazing, she just lives in gratitude. And when I talked to her, she didn't even understand that she was living in gratitude. Paul is another one I see who lives in gratitude, absolutely. When I talked to her, I interviewed her, and I brought up the topic of gratitude. She was like, oh, yeah. By the end of the conversation, she was like, yes, I come from a point of gratitude. And I go, well, what's the impact on your business? How does it impact? How do you approach this in business? And she goes, well, every day we have huddles. They huddle. What are you grateful for? What are your challenges? What do you want to create? What are your intentions? And she's like, it's almost like magic. We get what we want when we start with grateful. The benefit, she has no turnover. In chiropractor offices, there's a lot of turnover. She looks at her peers, there's no turnover. And she attributes that to creating that environment and that culture in their office of gratitude. Okay? So it creates engaged, productive. So we know why, we know it intuitively, and we can prove it with science. So here's where I want you. You have a handout in front of you. You have a handout in front of you, so we know what it is and why. I'm going to step you through gratitude as a skill and an approach to your business. So we're going to try to solve some problems and how you can apply gratitude. So I want you to think about the worst thing that happens in your business situation. I want you to think about the worst thing that happens in yours. For me, I was 7 months pregnant. I have to lay off 10 people. That was one of the worst things. I had to fire a manager who was a pathological liar. I was 27 years old. I'm sitting at a conference table with 15 people. They're all higher level than me. I'm a first level supervisor. I had a senior VP take a Coke can, half filled with Coke. I said something. Well, let's try this technology. We need to go to this technology. He picks up the Coke can, throws it across the table at me. Yes, ridiculous, yes. Bad behaviors, okay? So what's the worst thing? Someone yelling at you, someone blaming you, someone stealing your ideas. You got it? Everyone's connected with their worst thing. This works better if we get your worst thing. Can you connect? Yeah. Anything. Think of a typical business scenario, workplace scenario. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And we're going to show how gratitude. Were you going to say something, Mike?
Yeah, losing a $3 million account.
There you go. Losing a $3 million account. Yes. We're going to show.
Dealing with a whole office of tattletales.
Oh, I hate that.
And the boss picking a side before he hears
the whole story. Yeah, I had another one where I had a boss who threw me under the bus. I thought she was my best friend. That's how she behaved, and then totally threw me under the bus. Tattletales, gossip.
I had a star in Bedford, and 3 of the girls became friends, and they took off and just left me high and dry.
Oh.
Yeah, I walked in, I thought my business had been broken into, and I'm like,
wow.
And I read about it in the local newspaper, how they planned on doing this.
Devastating.
Yeah, that was devastating.
when a customer tells me ahead of time, he goes, I don't like pressure. If I feel pressure, I'm just kind of, I'm all done. And then I tell my managers that, and they come over and they start with the pressure, and I tell them, I go, that's not how to sell this person. So that's usually what sets me.
Okay, so we got the negative. And after those things happen, losing the account, being disappeared on, the pressure, all that stuff, it's a negative feeling. I'm not looking at stepping over it. I'm not looking to avoid it. I'm looking at acknowledging it, and that's what it is. The question is, how do we shift quicker to gratitude? That's the question. How do we do that in our business life and business setting? The other example, and I have to say the worst that can happen, I have a client now. An employee of his died because of stress on the job. It's a really toxic workplace. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. That has to be the worst, don't you think? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's actually another point of gratitude I want to make. Gratitude, it starts inside you, and it's about you looking at the outside world. It's like, well, I have my health, I have my friends, I have my family, I have, looking at the positive rather than the negative. I think someone said earlier, what you focus on expands. When you focus on what you have instead of what you don't have, it expands. Another definition of gratitude too. Gratitude does that. Okay, so we've got our worst situations, yes? Pretty crappy stuff. Pretty crappy stuff. So reactions. There's survival. We as humans are wired to stay alive, to survive. So we all know about fight, freeze, or flight. Fight, defensive, blaming, arguing, aggressive, prove it, backstabbing. All these things happened in those negative. Feelings of shame, embarrassment, horror. Freezing. This is my reaction when the guy threw the Coke can across the table at me. I'm like a deer in a headlight. I was 27 years old. I had no idea what to do, so I just sat there frozen. That's my natural reaction, sadly. Or flight. Some people would have walked out of the room, left the job right away when bad behavior happens. What I'm proposing is, how fast can we get to gratitude? Gratitude is mindfulness. It's calming, it's inspiring, it's motivating. It focuses us to look on what we have, not on what's missing. And deal with those bad behaviors, deal with the $3 million loss, deal with what happened from a point of gratitude rather than negativity, because it's more creative, it's more innovative. Okay, so let's talk through the scenario here. Fight, freeze, flight, or gratitude. So think of your situation now. Go back to your situation. We're going to do a little analysis here. Is the boss yells at you. They throw the Coke can at you. What might fighting look like if you're a fighter? You punch him in the face. It's happened. I know Mike would do that, yes.
You yell back like, I can't believe you did that, or how dare you do that, or
Yep. I can't believe it. Yeah. Punch him in the face. Yes. Something like that. Blaming, gossiping, something really bad. It's not going to get you a whole lot of places in a business setting. Freeze, that's my deer in the headlight. Don't say a word. Flight, run away. Gratitude. All right, now let's go to the gratitude. So we've switched sides of the brains now. We've gone from this negative place to this positive place. How quickly can you shift to gratitude? So for me, in the story I told you about the guy throwing the can across the table, how long did it take me to truly appreciate that situation?
years.
Years, yes. Yes, exactly, yes. It took years to appreciate. It actually was probably 2 to 3 years before I appreciated that situation. So my goal is, how do we reduce that amount of time? And let me tell you the story now. Okay, so I truly have reduced that amount of time because I had an incident. I didn't realize it. I had an incident maybe about a month ago where I do a lot of virtual work. So I get a call from a sales account rep. People sell my training and coaching business. And I was booked for this 2-day really high-end client February delivery. And she says, "Oh, Star, I'm calling to tell you that we decided we want to put someone else in." And this is like, I've been working with this client for 4 years. I'm the only one in the account. And I just like, I could feel, you feel the adrenaline pacing through my body. I'm getting hot. It's too much. So I'm on the phone, so she can't see what's going on, which I think was very helpful. If she had actually seen me, it would have been a different story. So I kind of jump up because I know that to shift from the negative to the positive, I have to move. So I kind of jump out of my chair, and I have a headset, so I'm kind of walking around and I'm pacing, and I'm thinking, oh, I gotta switch to gratitude. I gotta switch to gratitude. I can't even hear what she's saying at this point because I was so mad. I think within 30 seconds, I was able to recover myself and say, it was some of the deep breathing. It was like an instant mindfulness, deep breathing. Okay, let's try to figure out what happened here. And what's going on, and what are the circumstances? So then I was on the phone with her for another 10 minutes, just trying to understand what had happened. And she kept saying, it was so funny, she kept saying, and don't tell my manager I did this, don't tell my manager I did this. And by the end of the call I said, you know, I'm really concerned and this is important to me, so I am going to have to tell your manager. This is important enough to me. So we got off the phone, and lo and behold, I did get the contract back. and here's the other thing. In addition to getting the contract back, she calls me all the time and sends me out on jobs. If I had gone into fight, freeze, or flight, if I had started yelling at her, swearing at her, I never would have got the initial jobs. So that switch, it was a very conscious, like, I've got to be grateful, I've got to be grateful, I've got to calm down, I've got to understand from that high adrenaline. So I just want to compare and contrast the two stories of it took me 2 to 3 years, and then it took me maybe 30 to 40 seconds. But I still acknowledged what she had done and how she had done it. And it was still part of the conversation. Help me understand what could I have done differently? What could have how could I have this not have happened? And that was the conversation, instead of, oh, what a jerk for taking that away. Okay? So what I'm going to teach you really quickly, we're getting into the how, is there's the GLAD model, the approach, and then what you already know. So this will be kind of cool. This is somewhat on your handout here. So if you notice your handout on the back is a lot of hows. So I want to hear your hows, and I'm going to tell you what some of the people that I'm working with, how they do gratitude. But first we acknowledge, I love the idea that gratitude is a skill. It's something you can build. The more you do it, the more you build it. The more it becomes in your immediate psyche, okay? So we're going to start with something called the GLAD model approach for business. This is just for business. Because when I became, it was about a year ago, I became called a gratitude evangelist. Okay? I've been practicing gratitude in my home life for 15 years, but it wasn't until the past year I brought it back into business. All right? And I know in that year where I was kind of playing with it, experimenting, I would go up to somebody who was in a really bad mood, something happened, and say, hey, what are you grateful for? And what do you think they did? Punch me? Freeze? Nobody punched me. Nobody punched me. A lot of people rolled their eyes. They stopped talking to me. They went away. And I knew that didn't work. So if someone's in this negative place, you just can't ask them what they're grateful for, right? No, it doesn't work. So you have to kind of lead them into it. So this is a tool, the GLAD tool, which is from Pollyanna, if you know that whole story. That's a whole nother story. But GLAD stands for Gratitude Lessons and Alice Doing. This is why gratitude, mindful works in business, gratitude is about doing and action. So the GLAD model approach is simply, don't start with gratitude. Start with the LAD part. You can start with the lessons, the analysis, or doing. Here's how this might work. So GLAD, L for lessons. Well, what do we have to learn from this? So look at your situation. You know the situation that you had? What do I have to learn from this? What was challenging? What do I know about that other person's? What lessons are to be learned? Oh, by the way, this is what I learned about this guy. He had all sorts of stock options in the technology I was looking to get rid of. I also learned that when people are really passionate and engaged, they're going to jump quickly to defend and be angry. So the good thing is he was passionate, engaged, lots of stock options in the other thing that I was not suggesting. And the most important thing I actually learned about myself, as 27 years old, mind you, is that if I didn't learn to speak up, I would never be successful in business. So pretty quickly after that, I went to presentation school to learn how to present. So back then, I am now grateful for that lesson in his outburst. It's bad behavior, acknowledge it, deal with it, and take some action to do something about it. Those were my lessons that I learned. So I think the question might be, you know, what's the lesson from losing $3 million? What's the lesson from the friends? What could you have done differently? Maybe nothing, maybe nothing. But it's a question worth pursuing, and it's one in businesses they're used to asking. Businesses that want to get better, it's always what can we do better? Continuous improvement, Six Sigma, lean manufacturing are all based on asking these questions. Businesses get these questions. Okay? The other way, analysis. Businesses thrive on analysis. I work with a lot of engineering, brilliant people. They want to analyze something before it's real. They want proof, right? So I'll send you these, so don't worry. So a really simple way to analyze your situations. What are the facts? This is black and white. You can prove it. There's no denying it. What are the feelings and what are the beliefs? And when you go through that, a picture emerges. And then finally, what are you going to do about it? So now that you know what the lessons are, you know what the analysis is, then you can create action. So once you have those three, what have I learned? What do I know? What am I going to do? And it's like, well, why am I grateful about this? What part of this am I grateful for? Okay? This is more of a business-friendly way to approach gratitude in this situation. This is what businesses do. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to, that was kind of approach. It's an approach that you take. So now I'm going to talk about personal, and this is exactly on the back of your handout so you can follow along, and I would love to hear what you say. Let's see, 12 ways to build gratitude skills personal. When I first started doing this, I wrote a journal. 15 years ago, I was at the worst point in my life. I had started my business, I had just been divorced, then my ex-husband died, and I had 2 children to raise, and I had no money. Okay, so that was 15 years ago. So 15 years ago when that happened, I started creating a gratitude journal. Every day I would write in my journal for 2 years religiously, and I still do it most of the time now. I believe that's sort of what helped get me through it and get me out of it.
What's an example of what you were writing in your journal?
Great question, absolutely. So in my journal, what am I grateful for the last day? Whatever time I write it, whatever between the last time I wrote my journal to that time, I kind of look back and say, I'm grateful to be presenting to you. I'm grateful so many of you stayed. I was worried about who was going to be here in this presentation. I am grateful for this B&I chapter. Everybody does it differently. Actually, Oprah is a huge proponent of gratitude, and she claims, if you do research on Oprah, that gratitude is the single one thing that got her to where she got to. Because it keeps you focused on the positive going forward. What do you have, not what you don't have? Did that help?
Yeah.
So it's different for everyone. You know, I've talked to other people and everyone looks at things differently. So follow along and let me know, let me see if you raise your hands. Who writes gratitude? Anyone?
I have.
Yeah? Okay. So that's big, and there's 100 ways to do this. I have like three or four suggestions in the morning, in the night. Rip it off. If I don't have time, I'm driving into Boston, I'll actually say it out loud. And sometimes I do this with my husband too. Okay, I haven't done it, so we're going to sit down. What are you grateful for? I know it drives him crazy, but he actually likes it at the
I
end.
have a gratitude jar.
Oh, I've heard of that too. Gratitude jars is a great idea. I started doing that for a while too, where you write what you're grateful for, stick it in the jar, and come back and read it later.
Read it on New Year's Eve.
Oh, I love that idea. What a great idea.
It's awesome.
A gratitude jar. So that's writing it. Seeing it. What makes you grateful? What brings you? My office looks out to the beautiful outdoors. Sunsets. Love it. What makes you? Pictures. If you're in an office without windows, what picture will make you grateful? Touch it. There's something about animals. Mm-hmm. That's why there's so many of them on Facebook, right? Game it. How many times a day do you say thank you? How many times a day do you feel grateful? How deep is your gratitude feelings? Some people love games. Watch it. Who just told me? The Shack. The movie The Shack. Pay it forward. I have a whole list of movies, if you're interested, that will just, oh, how could you not be grateful after watching these movies? Mm-hmm. Listen to it. Music. Hallelujah. Leonard Cohen. If I listen to that, I'm like, oh, my heart breaks. Nora Jones, her voice just transcends for me, brings me to grateful. Read it. I have a whole list of books. If you're interested in books, I'm a book junkie. Read about it. Move to it. Remember I told you the story of when the woman was going to cancel my contract? I actually, when I get up and you physically shift your body, it can sometimes move you from negative to positive. Changes emotions, changes all sorts of stuff. Okay? And I asked to meditate. Most of you do that. That shocks me. How many meditate on a regular basis? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. I'm so jealous of you. I want that. Volunteer. There's nothing like helping someone else who has less than you, and I know a lot of you volunteer here, actually. What a great way to feel grateful. Do without cold food, whatever it is. That's what we know gratitude. Thing I didn't say, gratitude goes back to the beginning of humans. All major religions include gratitude. Doing without. What is Lent? You do without. It makes you more grateful. Okay. Socialize it. There was a bunch of Facebook challenges. List 10 things you're grateful for. Blah, blah, blah. Lots of games there. Anything I missed? Those are the most popular ones that I know from talking to people. What did I miss?
The little thing I do, I read somewhere a couple of stories that there's like a ratio, a 2-to-1 ratio.
Yes.
If you do things, 60% of the time, you feel like it's that way all the time. And so if I'm driving along and someone is a lousy person in front of me, I'm like, that person. And so like, okay, I was just negative, now I have to do 2 positives.
Oh, wow, that's
so that
great.
The whole trip feels positive. So
That's
I
right.
think it'll just be, oh, the sky is blue, or oh, my car feels so good, I love my stick shift. And so I'll just pile up 2 things to make up for the one.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Rose. I love that. I tell people, too, that traffic and weather are the best places to practice gratitude, to go along with what Rose says. Absolutely. And there are studies, too, that show whether it's a marriage. Do you remember that marriage study about how they could predict the marriages that would succeed and the teams that are successful? They do it in business, too, and they do it in personal things. I think it's 5 to 1. 5 to 1 positive words or actions will indicate success in a marriage or success in a team, a high-performing team. The positive to negative ratio, basically keeping people more on the positive side of the brain than the negative. So I love that idea. 2 to 1, 3 to 1. It's in parenting, too. I remember as a parent, make sure for every bad thing you say to your kid, you say at least 2 good things. So yeah. So in business, this is where, remember Sonia, our gratitude expert, she throws it out there, has no fear to use gratitude in business. Now this gets a little, we're all pretty comfortable with doing gratitude in personal life. How do we bring it into business more? So teach it. Absolutely, why not teach gratitude? Mindfulness, it's becoming a much more common thing. I have a friend who teaches mindfulness to doctors. So if they want to come in every day at lunch for 20 minutes, she sits down and meditates with them. It's like, what a great thing. Verbal appreciation. Only 30% of the people once a week say something good, acknowledge their coworker. What would be more appropriate? Your coworker, acknowledge, say how well they're doing. Authentic, honestly. These things can backfire if they're not done authentically, by the way. There is a whole downside. I forgot to talk about that. There are risks if it's not done authentically and real. Write it down. We always get to tasks. We're tasked, do. So why not? This is working well. That's working well. We're always looking at what's not working well. Well, what's working really well? Let's acknowledge it. People want that. They want that engagement. Gift it. Gift it. What might a gift be in a business setting? What might gifts be?
Tickets to a ball game.
Tickets to a ball game. Yeah, I'll take that. Yep. What else?
Sponsored lunch for the staff or the team.
Sponsored lunch. Yes.
Donuts.
A dozen donuts. Ooh, okay.
Massage.
A massage. Ooh, I like that. I had a director of engineering that I was working with, and they finished this amazing, difficult project. And at the end of the project, he couldn't figure out how to be grateful for them. And so, as his coach, we just brainstormed some stuff. And finally, the simple action of taking them out to lunch to say thank you. That's what he did, but it wasn't even in his brain, or he wasn't even thinking about it. So sometimes it's really, really simple things. Okay. Program it. Create a gratitude program. Daily huddle. That's what Dr. Mary does. At least once a day, sometimes twice a day. What are we grateful for? A moment of silence. There's nothing more powerful than 100 people quietly taking deep breaths and being grateful. It creates a connection, too. Game it. Different measurements in business. Put it in your performance reports. Once a year, companies generally do performance reports. How did they show appreciation? Measure it, okay? Publicly state it, make it a core value, and make it part of your culture. And in businesses, if you can't measure it, it's not real, right? Isn't that right? Yes. No? Yeah? Okay. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So, interestingly, I want to create a gratitude assessment, a gratitude tool. And I went back to all the studies I was looking at, and it's like, well, how do you measure gratitude? And generally, the studies that worked on gratitude and proved gratitude is beneficial in business and in life. There were 5 measurements. So you can follow along with this and do your own measurement. How intensely do you feel gratitude? I would contend not everybody feels it at that, I'm going to cry, I'm going to burst, my heart's so full. Not everybody has that level of intensity. Down to just, that's nice, so there's a level. You could rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Frequency, how often? 50 to 100 times in a day, I think about something I'm grateful for. How many times in a day are you grateful for something? If it's only 3 or 4, like remember the nun story? They counted up how many times they were grateful. They lived 7 years longer. How many times are you grateful? How can you improve that? Breadth. This has to do with how many things are you grateful for. Most of us are grateful for our families, our lives, our businesses, things like that. But let's go to the hard stuff. This is where it gets tricky if you want to expand your breadth. It's like the warm air, the building, the silly things. Think of it, I generally really like everybody, but there's probably 2 people in my life that I just don't like. My challenge to ramp up my gratitude is, how can I be grateful for those 2 people? I'm working on it. One I've almost got conquered. The other one, I'm not so sure. So how do you expand your breadth of what you're grateful? How many things? Okay. Context. We all know that if you hang around with negative people, it's contagious. Happy people are contagious. So it's not just the people. Do you hang around with grateful people? Does your environment, does your office, does your car, does your home, does your drive, do you drive to work a nice, pretty way rather than the highway? How do you create more gratitude in the environment, the context? And then the last one, there's a lot of cool studies on this, behaviors. This is the words that you use. How often do you use the word no, never? How often do you use positive words? So it's words and it's giving, writing thank you letters in business. Handwritten thank you letters, they work. As Candace and I were talking earlier, you send a handwritten thank you letter, people will remember you. Okay? So measure it. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? What do you need to do to ramp up your study? The challenges are what do you see as the challenges? These are the ones I got right away. What do you see? I see fake gratitude. What does that look like? It might be reciprocity. I'm saying thank you, I'm giving you something because I want something, not gratitude. Not true gratitude. It doesn't keep people engaged, it doesn't keep people at work. Not realistic, those happy people. Because I'm a coach. I live in the coaching world, which is very, it is woo-woo. It's very woo-woo. There are people that I would like to slap sometimes because they are too happy and they're not dealing with reality. It's like, yes, we can be happy and deal with reality. That's what I propose. Not business appropriate. There's a line, that's especially in the US, that's a line I'm trying to push a little bit further here. Dreamers, oh, this is great, this is wonderful, kind of not realistic. Denial, I'm not suggesting denying the hard stuff. You lost the business, I lost the account, someone threw a Coke can at me, someone's yelling at me, dealing with bad behaviors, dealing with bad stuff.
Question.
Please.
How would you handle that Coke throwing executive now?
Oh, the great question. Yeah, I would handle it. I would. So first of all, exactly what I'm teaching is I would not throw a Coke can back at him. No. What happened is there was a person in the room who said, let's take a break. And we stopped the meeting and she took the person outside and talked to him. So that's actually what happened. What I would do now, I would definitely acknowledge the adrenaline. It's like, oh my God, what do? I would acknowledge I'm in the negative side. It's like, this is inappropriate, this is bad, this is not good. And I would quickly say something like, it was John was his name. John, that's inappropriate behavior. I'd call it right then and there. I don't care what level they are. Bad behavior is bad behavior in a very professional, very straightforward way. Should we continue talking about this later? Or should we keep going? I would ask him to apologize. It's about, as Sonia said, and Dr. Mary, it's about being brave. Being grateful in business requires some courage in being brave. And I've done that with people. I have walked right up to CEOs and looked them right in the face like that. I have no problem now. I don't know what it was. Something happened. Something shifted when that happened. That it's like, I can't be like this. I need to deal with this.
So by being grateful, you're definitely being more confident too.
It adds confidence. Yeah, it definitely. I hadn't thought that's a great side effect. Yeah. Yep. It shows us where our place is in the world. Gratitude. If all else fails, because there are times, I still yell at my husband. Okay, I'm working on this. I'm teaching this because I'm working on this. There are people in this room that are way more outwardly grateful showing than I am, that are way more mindful. This is my work. Like I said, I still yell at my husband, I still get mad at my kids, but it's about shifting it back faster.
I was going to say, just in general, I've learned to be very grateful for my challenges and my failures. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Because I've never learned from just the easy, when things are easy, and so those are the things that, like the Coke can incident, I think we all have those stories.
Yes. Focus on the positive. It's acknowledge the negative and focus on the positive in it.
That's where you grow.
That's where you grow.
Right.
And it takes courage. And it's not easy. And that's actually what the other stories here are that I've been collecting. They're business stories of people that had really tough things happen. And when they shifted to the point of gratitude, they lost a big job, they were fired, some really traumatic things happening, millions of dollars lost. And when they looked at it from the gratitude point of view, it became very different. And it helped them go forward in a positive way. So gratitude is a skill and an approach, and it's actionable in business. Actionable. Anyone have a quick story? Gratitude? Rose is going to, oh, okay, that's fine. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I brought my toys. This is courtesy of Terry. This is actually mine. I bought it. This is a great toy. This is call it the breathing. Because in business, we can't sit and meditate for 2 hours, but we can take deep breaths. We can take deep breaths. And I realize now, too, when I was a young engineering director, I would have toys in my office because it would help me relax and become more thoughtful, and it would push me into that positive place. I have a whole bucket of toys that I bring in. I love these toys, okay? Yeah, there's a deep tie to gratitude, to religion, faith, and believing the unknown, too. And maybe that's why it's harder to bring it into business, too. I'm not sure. It belongs in business. That's what I say. It belongs in business. So I want to end with, of course, saying thank you. And if all else fails, no matter how deep, how low we are, here's the simple answer. Look up, because you're not 6 feet under, right? Look up. So thank you. I am most grateful for you all to be here. And what I am looking for is for investment. I want your stories. I want to hear about gratitude. I did also hand a feedback form. This is the first time I've given this presentation live rather than on the webinar where no one can see me. I'm kind of coming out of the closet with gratitude in business. So I want your feedback. I'm happy to follow up. And I still do the webinars because every time I do a webinar, I get anywhere from 1 to 10 people that show up and we have a great conversation about their stories in gratitude. And speaking, I would love to speak at your event, any event that you know that needs a speaker. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to deputize you all to be my gratitude warriors. Will you do that? Can you all be my gratitude warriors?
Most definitely.
Yes? Raise your hand and swear. Attitude of gratitude. Gratitude is a choice. Swear on it. All right. So you are my gratitude warriors. And I am going to say thank you. And if you want to say something, write down how this worked for you. On Matt about the talk, if you want to say this is what I thought about the talk or about Star or anything, we would be happy. He's collecting video testimonials. So thank you for being my first gratitude warriors. So thank you.